Lastly, we're going to have Nick. Again, introducing Nick. Nick Tolley is a graduate student in the group. He's one of the lead developers of the HNN software. In his science, he's been doing a lot thinking about how to, one, study beta rhythms and what they mean for information processing. But really in the computational neuroscience realm, he's been integrating some newer machine learning methods to estimate parameters and think about distributions of parameters that might account for signals and how we compare distributions, and a lot of really cool statistics and stuff that will be coming in future HNN. So thank you, Nick. And he's going to talk about HNN core very briefly, and then we'll leave 10 minutes for, please fill out the survey.
Ooh. All right. Well, yeah, I'm happy to be closing this out. Yeah, so I'm going to be talking about what's called the HNN core project. Let me pull up my slides. Perfect. Okay, so the workshop. So far we've been running these simulations through what's called a GUI, or a graphical user interface. But a big focus, this was a project that was started by Minok, is making the same model available in what's called through a Python interface, or a command line interface. And the main advantages of this is that you are able to customize your simulations and model with a much finer level of detail. But you can also do a lot more of you can also develop much more complicated workflows, searching over larger parameter spaces, running optimization schemes. And other people had this question came up earlier of like, what if I want to run this analysis? Or what if I want to estimate goodness of fit using some other metric? And that becomes a lot easier once it's all in a Python or like a coding environment. And so this is our documentation page down here. I'm sure we can send out links, or you can even just Google HNN core. But I think the goal of today is just to give you a very quick demo of what that interface looks like, as well as some of the features that are available through a command line interface. And so it's available. So you can install this with just one command in your or one action in your command line through pip install HNN core. If you're not familiar with running Python processes, you'll want to go through a tutorial on how to install Python and everything. So maybe it's too much to say it's one line of code, but please feel free to talk to us if you want to know how to get started on actually working with this sort of model in Python. I want to say a main advantage of HNN core is that we're building on this environment, which is called the Python scientific ecosystem. It's this growing group of very well-documented, well-developed packages that all sort of work together so that scientists are able to make robust, reproducible workflows where you can share code with somebody and they can easily run it on their computer, and maybe even 10 years from now still run it and get the same result, which has not always been the case, and certainly still isn't the case. And I want to give a kind of a very high-level look at how setting up simulations look. I'm just going to walk through a very quick example of what the Python code looks like for running an HNN core simulation. So first, like all Python scripts, we're going to import the functions that we want. And so from our HNN core package, we're going to import a model. So in the HNN GUI, right now, all of the simulations you've been looking at are based off of this model, or this model of the cortical column that Stephanie published back in 2009. We actually have a greater variety of models distributed with HNN core that go with the newer publications that people have come out with. And the other function we're going to import is the simulate dipole function. All right, so the first step is to create your model. And so first you just run this line of code here, and you're going to store the network object in a variable called net. The next step is we're going to set up our weights and delays. And so And then what we're going to do is attach a drive to this model. We're going to attach an evoked drive to this model. And so what you need to define are the actual synaptic weights of those, like the synaptic weights of this drive to the different cell types in our model. And so that's done through this dictionary. Once we've defined those, we can pass them into this function called net.addEvokedDrive. So it's exactly the same evoked drive that we've been seeing, just in code form now. And this is mu, this is the mean start time, and this is the standard deviation of that distribution. So now that, and actually here, we can also define the location. So this is going to be a proximal drive. And once we've defined that, all that's left to do is to run the simulation and define your stop time. And yeah, not too surprising. I think you are all now experts in what proximal and distal mean in this model. And so you can see that it's a proximal drive. It's going to first drive current up these apical dendrites. So you see that positive current deflection. And then because of the spiking, you now have more complex circuit level dynamics that are driving the rest of this dipole waveform here. And specifically, I think we talked about this in the breakout sessions. You can see there's inhibitory neuron spiking here, and that's what's really pulling this current down. So that's a very quick introduction to what's called the API of HNN Core, or the Application Programming Interface. I won't, we're not going to be staring at code for most of this. I mainly just want to talk about the extra features and things you can do. And so one thing that is very important one very useful feature of HNN Core is that you're able to record extracellular fields, like local field potentials. And so this is really important when you're actually trying to validate the mechanisms that you're testing, or the hypotheses that you're coming up with. A lot of times we start with a lot of times we're trying to fit the EEG data, but oftentimes these are signals these are experiments that are repeated in animals with invasive probes. And so a way that you can further validate the mechanisms that you're arriving at are to compare to finer grained recordings. In this case, this is an example of a laminar probe local field potential. The interface is quite simple. You just define the positions of the electrodes you want to record from, and then you hit run net.addElectrode. And when you run your simulation, you have access to the local field potentials. And I'll just say this is a figure from one of our previous interns, or Google Summer of Code students, who helped develop the software with us, and then went on to publish their own academic paper for their own scientific questions. Another important piece is the ability to change the local connectivity. So right now, the default model has what's called all-to-all connectivity. It isn't that they all have the same weights. There is a distance-dependent relationship to how strong those synapses are. But again, it's all-to-all, and we know that this is not really the case in the brain, and so being able to define connection probabilities between different cell populations becomes an important question depending on the level of detail that you want to model. And so this is an example of how you can modify or change individual connection types within the network. And so it's through this method called net.addConnection. This is just some code to show how you can compactly update multiple connection types. In this case, we're updating connections from the L2 basket cell to layer 5 pyramidal cells and layer 2 basket cells. And we have some quick visualization functions to see the result of that as well. And besides local field potentials, it's a computational model, so you really have access to all of the activity that you really care about. And so, really all that's left besides extracellular fields is actually getting access to the voltages and currents of the neurons that we're simulating. And so to turn on recording of membrane potentials as well as synaptic currents, all you have to do is set these options here in the simulate dipole function. And so in this case, what this is showing is how you can turn on recording for just the soma. But if you want to record from all of the compartments, you just need to set this to the all function. And once you run that simulation, you have access to everything. And so this is an animation that's showing you how the membrane potentials look during an event-related potential. This is actually the same exact simulation that we've been running since the beginning of this workshop. I'll just give a note, and Ryan and Minok might laugh because I've been saying this for a while. This animation function should be coming out in the next update. Oh, I didn't even finish my slide. The next update of the code, so you should be able to easily export this. Let's see. Yeah, and actually this came not to belabor the point, but Minok had asked in the last breakout room if it's possible to have what self-sustaining or super threshold rhythms. I just wanted to say, just as a quick shout out, we don't have a scientific paper on this yet. If that's something you're interested in, let this compelling animation convince you it could be possible. And if you want to talk to me about how to investigate this or turn this from a cute demo into something scientific, I don't know, it'd be great to chat with you. Okay, so also, I also wanted to mention that we've been remaking the graphical user interface using more better, I guess, remaking this using best practices in open source software development. So something that is maintainable and something that can actually be extended on by people that are not necessarily software engineering experts. So let me try to quickly, I'll just share my whole screen so once you pip install HNN core from your command line, let's see. Yeah. So again, for people that are unfamiliar with terminal, it would look like this. You would just pip install HNN core. That would be the command you run. But once that's installed, we actually activate the environment I have for this. Once that's installed, the way that you open the new graphical interface is you just type this command HNN GUI. And what that's going to do is launch a session in your browser. And this is a beta version of the graphical interface. So if things break right now, I can just say it's a beta version, but actually it has been running stable, and we're planning to release this soon. I'm at risk of stressing my very not very powerful laptop. I'm going to actually run a simulation while Zoom is on at the same time. But just to say, you guys have been playing around with the GUI, so you should recognize all of these commands. We're able to change the local connections. We're able to change the different drives, all of the same parameters. Once this finishes running, let's see. Yeah, there we go. And we're able to get out, slightly different visualizations because it's a different software doing the plotting, but all of the same features and all of the same skills you've learned in this workshop will apply to this graphical interface. And you'll certainly see us talk a lot about this on Twitter once we actually release this. And I think honestly, truthfully, it should be this year that we'll finalize the graphical interface. Great. So to finish off, let's see. As I feared, screen sharing is getting slow.
We do see your screen, Nick. We see demo of new GUI.
Perfect. Okay. Running the GUI, screen sharing at the same time I knew it was going to stress out my computer, but we made it back. I was able to close everything. All right, so that was a very quick introduction into the command line code. Another thing that we work hard on though is making a lot of tutorials on how to actually use the command line interface. And so if you do want to learn more about how to run this, you can browse to our documentation page. Actually, I can even just show you the actual website here. Let's see. If they're slowing down, people give a shout out if they can still hear me.
Yes.
We can hear you now. You froze for a moment, but you're back.
Okay. So maybe I should stop share. Maybe I should wrap this up before I sabotage the end of this. But all that's to say is you can just click the examples page. Let's see. Okay. Are we stable now?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, no worries.
All right,
So that was, go ahead, Nick, sorry.
Oh no, all I wanted to finish was to say you can just go to the website and hit the examples to see a lot more detailed tutorials on how to achieve the same simulations in the Python code. I think the last point I wanted to share is that we talked about if you feel that you want to run more demanding workflows, we highly recommend working with the Neuroscience Gateway. You can run these simulations on supercomputers, but you don't really need to be like a supercomputing expert to do this. They have access through Jupyter Notebooks. To show you how that looks, I have their portal up. You would just click the Jupyter session. Oh wait, actually, do you see my screen?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So you would just define the resources that you want. And then actually, I think do I have one up? I think I even have an interactive session up now. Oh, never mind. Okay. But it would just be a Jupyter notebook in your browser. And so I think let's see. I think the last point I wanted to get at. Oh yeah, last 2 points I wanted to say. If you do want to learn more about optimization, I'll just give a quick plug for our most recent publication on parameter estimation in biophysical models, namely HNN. And the last point is that if you are interested in this model as well as coding and particularly open source coding, it's an open invitation to just come code with us. We have a growing community of contributors. I'm going to embarrass Ryan and Minock just to say that we are very friendly, and we're very friendly in our coding interactions. We always love it when people come in with their own scientific questions, want to build out new features, or just want to help make our software usable by the community. And with that, I'll call it a day. Yeah.